The following is a paid advertisement. The views expressed are the sole responsibility of the advertiser.
Put the power back in your hands. This is Behind the Law with attorney Justin Clark.
Welcome to Behind the Law. Happy weekend to you. As always, I'm joined by my beautiful co-host, Michaela Nichols. Hello, Michaela. How are you?
Great.
You are the voice of the people at home. You're a non-lawyer. I'm a lawyer. You're going to, what do they say? What do they tell you to do?
Be like
project.
Bane.
They want you to project.
What?
They want you to be the voice of the people, Michaela. That's all I'm trying to say, right?
I ask the real questions.
Great show. Here's what's coming up today. Pedestrians, bicyclists, what kind of rights do they have? And then what kind of right of way do we have to give them if we are the driver of the car? Also, police. We love police, of course, but they're not all great. They just simply are not all great, and sometimes they use deceptive practices to get you to say things that you really shouldn't say. Lastly, can you get in trouble if you're in a car, your buddy makes a very, very bad decision? Can you get in trouble? Great show ahead. Are you ready?
I am.
Here's what we're gonna do. Very quick break. When we return, Behind the Law continues.
Managing your investment property is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Sign up at GoRent123.com. 2. Let Greater Orlando Realty handle everything for you when it comes to managing your property. From qualifying tenants to collecting rent, processing maintenance requests, and everything in between. 3. Sit back, relax, and count all that money you're making. Earning passive income on your property is as easy as 1, 2, 3 with Greater Orlando Realty. Visit GoRent123.com today.
Welcome back. Maybe I should address the new studio. It's really not a new studio at all. We just wanted a week off. We're really sick of the summer, let's be honest, and we're ready for fall to hit. Michaela, right? I mean, this summer is kind of getting old.
I mean, it is. But I mean, this room is great because it really encompasses Florida.
We'll be back in the regular studio next week. We like to come in here occasionally just to change it up a little bit. Let me ask you a question, though. It is summertime. It's raining all the time. A lot of times you'll be driving down the street and you see someone walking, right? They're in the crosswalk or not in the crosswalk, or you see these bicyclists, and it always seems to me, no offense to you bicyclists, you like to run in packs, okay? What rights do you have as a bicyclist? What rights do you have as a pedestrian? And as the driver of that car, what do you need to watch out for? Who better to ask than our good buddy Michael Mills, personal injury and trial attorney extraordinaire. Michael, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing great. How are you?
Yeah, great. So you always hear pedestrians always have the right of way.
Correct.
I've heard that since I was a kid. How true is that?
It's true for the most part.
Yeah.
You typically want to be on the crosswalk if you're crossing the road, typically for a couple of reasons. One, it highlights your visibility, and it lets the drivers know, hey, they're approaching a crosswalk, to be on the lookout for pedestrians. So it's safe, and it's the best course of action for pedestrians.
You've handled thousands and thousands of personal injury cases. I imagine you've seen some bicyclists who have come into your office at times too, and
absolutely,
maybe they're like riding in the middle of the road, and they were really the negligent one. How do the courts deal with that?
No, I would never say that they're the negligent
Okay.
one. I'm a cyclist myself.
Okay, I'm sorry about the little opening a minute ago. My bad.
Yes.
Do you always ride in packs with your buddies, or is
I do.
Okay,
I'm the guy you were talking about just a while ago.
Do you always meet at a Starbucks in the morning on Saturday at 8 a.m.?
Starbucks, Publix, wherever we can just coagulate basically.
Right. I'm afraid to ask you about what shorts you wear when you're riding on that Saturday morning.
Well, they're cycling shorts, all right? Then let's not go any further than that.
The tight pants.
Yeah, they're snug. Let's call it snug.
Yeah.
But cyclists, road cyclists in particular, we have just as much rights to the road as a vehicle. We typically required by state law 3 feet distance between the vehicle and the cyclist. This gives us enough room to safely ride on the road. Some folks will see cyclists and wonder why they're not on the sidewalk. And that's because we can't be on the sidewalk. Cyclists typically drive or ride 20 miles per hour or more. So riding 20 miles an hour or more on a sidewalk is dangerous for the pedestrians who have to be on the sidewalk and for the cyclists as well. The rules or the statute in place is 316, and it requires that the vehicles or motor vehicles give cyclists enough space, that's the 3 feet, in order for us to be able to safely navigate the roads. And also, it should be known or noted that, as a cyclist, we are we're more susceptible to road debris, potholes, and those things. And also, the bike lanes are not always that safe. They also always have a lot of debris, broken glass, all this types of stuff that makes it difficult for us to just stay in the bicycle lane. At the same time, we also have to obey the rules of the road as well, just as vehicles should as well.
So like stop at a stop sign.
Stop at a stop sign. Stop at a stoplight. Give the pedestrians the right of way to cross the crosswalk. And where we oftentimes, if I'm going to be honest, where we oftentimes get in issues is that, especially if we're in packs, we don't, or the Peloton, we don't like to stop at the stop signs because it takes a lot more for us to get going again.
Sure.
So as opposed to a car that can just press on the gas, we have to start the engine back up, start pedaling, and with that many folks, it makes it a little difficult. So we like to kind of cheat the system sometimes and just slow down just enough to make sure there's no cars coming before going. That's not right. We should come to a stop, complete stop, but if there's no cars coming, sometimes that will happen.
So if I'm a bicyclist and I get injured due to the negligence of a driver, someone in a car, do I have to rely on their insurance to cover it, the driver's insurance, or can any other insurance kick in and help me as the bicyclist?
Twofold. The response is twofold. Yes, if the at-fault party has bodily injury coverage on their auto insurance policy, we are just as we have just as much access to that bodily injury coverage as if it was someone in a car,
right.
Car-on-car accident. And secondly, if we have uninsured motorist coverage on our own policy, if we have a car, of course, and most of us do, if we have uninsured motorist coverage on our own auto policy, that can also be coverage for us if that at-fault party either doesn't have enough insurance or doesn't have any bodily injury insurance at all. And typically with those types of accidents, car on cyclist or car on pedestrian, the injuries are typically far worse.
And we'll talk a little bit more about this uninsured motorist coverage in a moment. But if you were a bicyclist, I mean, how many other attorneys do you know that are avid cyclists and they really focus on representing the rights of cyclists out there? Michael Mills, 321-282-1055. Look, if you're a bicyclist and you're injured, I don't know who else I would trust than someone who knows what you feel because he rides bikes with you.
Absolutely.
Mike, I think that is fascinating that your UM coverage will kick in there.
Absolutely.
And protect you if you get hit by a car without insurance. Or what about this, Mike? I'm riding my bike down the street, hit by a car, zoom, they take off. They're like, oh, I didn't realize I hit him, and you never find out who it was. What do I do in that situation?
Well, in that situation, it's the same as with a car.
Yeah.
Hopefully you have uninsured motorist coverage because uninsured motorist coverage kicks in when there is either no insurance or it's a hit and run. So hit and run situation, either if you're in a car, if you're a pedestrian, if you're on a bicycle, your uninsured motorist coverage kicks in if your injury stems from another motor vehicle.
All the more reason to get UM coverage. And in the past, Mike, you would talk to your agent, they'd sit down and say, check this box. It seems like there's been a proliferation of people getting auto coverage on the internet now.
Correct.
And you really have to know what you're doing. You have to know what boxes to check. And the average consumer at home literally doesn't know this. UM coverage is so very important. What is UM coverage exactly, and why should I get it?
Sure. Uninsured, UM stands for uninsured motorist coverage. And what that means is if you are involved in a car accident or an accident with someone that either is uninsured. That means they don't have any bodily injury coverage at all, or they're underinsured, which means that they don't have enough bodily injury coverage. Maybe they have a $10,000 policy and they caused you $100,000 worth of injury. They're underinsured. So if that's the case, then your uninsured motorist coverage will kick in if you have it. I always recommend to my clients to get as much uninsured motorist coverage as they can afford, and it's really not that expensive. It's a couple, maybe $20, $30, $40 more on top of what you're already paying.
You're crazy if you don't get coverage.
Absolutely.
It protects
especially here in Florida.
Protects your family when the other people on the road literally don't have to have, legally, they don't have to have VI coverage. It's the craziest thing in the world, but it's just true. Please get coverage. Do yourself a favor.
Folks come into my office all the time swearing up and down that they have full coverage.
Yeah, exactly.
Not knowing that full coverage just simply means that they have property damage and personal injury protection coverage.
Yeah, that was awesome. That's why, Michaela, that's why we do this show. Like, it's unbelievable the information that we're able to give you at home, and these are things that people simply don't know. Like, I'm a lawyer and I learn things every single day. It's pretty amazing. Real quick in about 30 seconds, Mike, the Injury Assistance Network, you're giving back. You're connecting lawyers, doctors, and the consumer at home all together. Tell me about that.
The Injury Assistance Network is a network of providers for the personal injury, both medical and service providers. So if you're in an accident, you don't know where to go to for your injuries, you can just go to theinjuryassistancenetwork.com and search by the specialty you're looking for and the location, and presto changeo, there you have it. Attorney vetted personal injury medical or service provider will be presented to you.
Excellent job as always. If you have been injured in an accident, especially if you're a bicyclist, my goodness, this is personalized service at its best. This is not a big box store. When we return, the cops come snooping around. Do they have to ask you factual questions? Can they lie to you? And what do you do in that situation? Behind the Law continues. Does credit card debt have you spinning out of control? You are not helpless. At Attorneys Justin Clark and Associates, our goal is to lower or even eliminate your credit card debt. Call me today or visit youhavepower.com and take back control of your financial life. Is student loan debt holding you back? I'm attorney Justin Clark. You may have the power to lower or even eliminate the payments that have you living paycheck to paycheck. Call me now for a free consultation or visit youhavepower.com and take back control of your life. Welcome back to the show. And look, if you have kids, husband, wife, or whatever, I think it's very important that you inform them who they hang out with. Is a very big decision. Can you be charged if you're in a car with someone, they go in and rob a store, something bad happens, can they get charged just like the bad guy? Oh, my son is the nice guy here. He was just out in the car. Can they be charged with a crime also? When a detective comes around, maybe an undercover police officer comes around, shows you the badge, they start asking you questions. Just how deceptive can they be? Can they lie to you? I think these are all very important questions. There is no one we'd rather ask than Rajan Joshi, criminal defense attorney, the best criminal defense attorney I've ever met, honestly.
Thank you so much.
Welcome back. Welcome to our new set, temporary set, I should say.
I love it. I love it. It's so nice.
It was just such a nice day. We wanted to get out of the dungeon a little bit, so we'll be back in the other studio next time. But let's start with that. Let's start with I'm in the car, okay? And look, I know that my friends aren't the greatest kids, but they're my friends. I've known them since I was a kid, and we're just out hanging out, joyriding. One of them's going to go into the 7-Eleven, armed robbery. He literally goes in there, holds up a gun, takes the money, gets back in the car, takes off. I mean, I can't be charged with a crime, can I?
Potentially you can, and this is where the law, is very encompassing. If the state can prove beyond a reasonable doubt that somebody helped another person by word or act commit a crime, then they're as guilty as the other person. So hypothetically, let's just say I'm in the car and I'm the lookout guy. I have no intention of going in, hurting anyone, and my buddy goes in to the store and he's like, I got a toy gun. I'm not gonna shoot anyone. And he goes in there and it's a real gun. He shoots the person. Right there, that's felony murder because he committed a murder in the commission of a felony of a robbery. He gets back in the car, we get arrested. I can be charged with felony murder. I am as guilty as everything my co-defendant did, if it's reasonably foreseeable, and I could be put to death in that situation.
Let's say that we're at our vacation home, our lake house, okay, and that we notice the neighbor's house. We look in there, they're never there. And they're never there. This is just their little vacation home, and I look in, and there's a bottle of vodka. Me and my buddy are like, let's go steal that vodka, break into the house. The door is unlocked. We don't have to break in. The door is unlocked. We go in, get the vodka. What do you know? The homeowner comes in. My buddy gets scared, shoots homeowner. I can't be charged. I was just trying to steal vodka.
At that point, you could be charged with first-degree murder in that situation as well, because what is going on is you both are committing a burglary by entering. You don't have to break in and enter. You're entering with the intent to commit a crime, and during the commission of a crime, the felony, somebody died. And because I agreed to the felony, even though I didn't know I thought I was just committing, harmless crime. I agreed to it. I participated in it. Somebody died. That's why you got to choose your friends very carefully.
Right. You must have stories you must have clients that have been in this situation before, and it probably relates back to my friend in elementary school. I'm a loyal guy. These are still my friends, even though they went this way, I went this way. You must have stories about clients that have been through this.
Absolutely. And what happens is the guy who's less culpable is the one that the state is going to try and squeeze because they've got so much leverage. This person's looking at such, drastic circumstances. So the state's going to try and squeeze them to get to the other person. It's kind of the theory, eat with the sinner to get the devil.
Right. And so you see that happen a lot where the state can the state kind of figure out who the bad guy is versus the good guy normally, or what?
They kind of draw conclusions in the beginning. Usually the shooter, if they can prove who the shooter is, that's usually the worst person. And it gets really complicated in these huge conspiracy cases because what happens is hypothetically, if we're in a conspiracy, let's just say I'm the kingpin. I deal drugs to you. And I deal drugs to you. You don't know each other. You deal drugs to the middleman, you deal drugs to the middleman, who deals it to the nickel and dime guy. Nickel and dime guy is as guilty as everything I've done, and for the whole amount of the drugs. So let's just say theirs would be a misdemeanor, but they can prove a vast amount of drugs were coming from the source. Then he's as guilty as I am. And what happens is the state will squeeze him to get to the middle person, then to get to you, and then of course you'll turn on me, and you will too.
Everyone turns on each other at that point. Yeah. And you see this a lot, that the squeeze in drug cases now, and this proliferation of fentanyl deaths has been really crazy. And then even if I'm the guy who's selling a tiny bag on the street and someone dies,
that's first-degree murder. If you sell drugs, and regardless of the conspiracy charge or anything like that, if I sell something, and I don't even think it's fentanyl in there. I sell a small piece of Xanax, but it's pressed with fentanyl, and the person ODs. It's right there in the first-degree murder statute that if they can prove the source of the drugs that caused the death or the OD came from me, I can be guilty of first-degree murder and be put to death.
It's really risky business selling drugs. Not just that, okay, you're going to get probation for 2 years or go to jail for a year or something like that. Literally, you could be charged with murder, and you might have sold them cocaine. And let's say they did heroin later too. You could still be charged with murder in that position, couldn't you?
If they can link at that point, that's where the criminal defense attorney comes in, and that's where you look at the toxicology of the victim, and you say, oh no, it's going this way. My guy only did the cocaine, and what I would do in that situation is get an expert to say the cocaine wouldn't have caused this type of death, and all that stuff. So at that point, you really want to arm yourself with a good attorney.
And by the way, if you've been charged with a crime, someone in your family has been charged with a crime, or you have detectives, police officers snooping around, asking you questions before you say a word, here's what you need to do. Call the phone number on the screen right now. I will connect you with Rajan immediately. This is a free consultation. This is not one of those deals where you have to send your credit card in and he's going to charge you $1,000 just to come into the office. He'll talk to you on the phone right now if you want. It's 321-282-1055. And Rajan, I'm very careful to say, don't wait till you're charged with a crime to call you, because the real investigation seems to happen before the charges ever come about.
Absolutely. And, when the police are actually investigating someone, that's the time to call the lawyer, because the police will use such deceptive techniques. I mean, they can lie to a person, and they can tell you, hey, look, we're not even investigating you, and the person will have this ease and comfort and start talking. And right there, what the police are doing is they're putting the case together, and they're making that person their star witness against themselves. And if the police say, hey, look, talk to us, you're just helping us out, it's gonna help you, that's the last thing that happens in a criminal case. They are trying to build a case, and anything you say will be used against you. And the police police have so many deceptive techniques they can use, and it's legal. It's absolutely legal.
And again, pardon my ignorance, but I am a lawyer, not a criminal defense lawyer. Most of the criminal defense stuff I've learned is from Dateline or 48 Hours, and I'll be honest, that's just where I learned it. And so they'll have boyfriend, girlfriend, put them in different rooms, and then they'll come back and say to boyfriend, your girlfriend just ratted on you. She just said you shot the weapon, that you did it. But she didn't say that. How legal is that for officers to do?
Completely legal. They can come in there and they can confront you with false evidence, say, we got the evidence, we got you on videotape, and by the way, your girlfriend just ratted on you. And the person right there is thinking, oh my gosh, I gotta help myself. Let me plead my case, and maybe it might help me. Maybe the judge will take mercy on me. Maybe the prosecutor will see that I was cooperative, and they're gonna give me a better deal. That is not true. That is the worst thing a person can do, because they have that right in this country not to talk, and they should exercise that right. If even the police are coming around asking, don't talk without a lawyer.
And speaking of don't talk, let's talk about search a little bit, because again, from 48 Hours I've learned this, but a lot of times they'll come knock on your door at your house and they're like, can we come in? And it's the police officers, and they have guns, and you're like, of course you can come in, I guess. Do I have to let them in that situation? And if not, are there situations where I do?
Yes. If they come knocking on your door, usually if they don't have a warrant, they've got no right to be there and or to come in. And you have the absolute right under the Fourth Amendment to say, no, you can't. This is my house. I have an expectation of privacy. Go away. Come back with a warrant. Sometimes the police will lie and say, well, we can get a warrant and we can come in and tear your house down. You just tell us where the stuff is. We'll go in, we'll get it, and we'll save your family from a lot of headache. And a lot of times they're lying. Make them get the warrant, because as soon as you consent, as soon as you give them that permission, then you have no right to attack the search under most circumstances.
Really?
Now, if they get the warrant may be defective. The warrant may not be based on probable cause. So a good lawyer can go out there and attack the warrant at that point. But if you agree to let them search, then you've waived that right. And certain situations, the police, if they pull someone over in a car and they have probable cause to believe there's some evidence of a crime, they can search without a warrant, because a car can just be driven off. But if they ask you, hey, can we search? The safest thing to say is no. And if they can continue to search regardless, let them, and then the lawyer can attack it if it's an illegal search.
So when they pull you over, most of the time I think they say, can I search your car? But even if you say no, they have a right to do so?
They don't have the right to do so. They may do so anyways. But if you stand in the police officer's way and start pushing them, you may be charged with resisting then, or a battery on a law enforcement officer. So you can say, I do not give you consent. And they may still search, and it may be a legal search if they do have probable cause. If they don't, then whatever evidence they found, no matter what it is, a good lawyer will get that evidence thrown out.
Last question, and I have so many more. I wish we had more time. I get pulled over, and again, this is from Live PD. I think I learned this one. I get pulled over. I think they're running that back. I get pulled over. They say, step out of the car. Do I have to get out of the car?
Usually at that point, yes. The officer is, if he pulled you over legally,
right.
I would still get out of the car and not resist the officer, but if he didn't pull you over legally and he has no reason to detain you, then from that point it could be an illegal detention.
It's one of my favorite appearances yet. And again, I feel like we could go on for another 30 minutes.
I love it over here. Yeah.
You'll come back next week and we'll finish this up. How's
Thank
that?
you.
Good
Thank
job
you.
today. That was
Thank you.
amazing stuff. Call Rajan Joshi today, charged with a crime. Not yet charged with a crime. If you're getting the phone calls, getting the knocks on the door, call him right now. Do yourself a favor. Please call Rajan, 321-282-1055. When we come back, we will wrap it up with what did we learn? Our good buddy Greg Mann is here, a property manager, the best in the business, I assure you. Greg, how are you, sir?
Good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It scares me a little bit because there are some people still out there who own real estate, who rent it out, and they want to do it themselves. I never advise that whatsoever because, and you've seen it, Greg, people who rent houses out to someone else and decide they want to do self-help evictions, they can get in trouble legally for that.
Yeah, well, first of all, they're not professionals, so they don't know what they're doing. And as you would know better than most people, if you don't know what you're doing and you're not a professional, don't do it. So avoid it. Or if you self-manage and you need to do an eviction, go to an attorney.
Even that aside, though, anyone who owns real estate that they're renting out really should have a property manager such as yourself. What are all the things that you do to make life easier for me, the landlord?
From start to finish, we rent the house out, we collect the rent, we send it to you, we maintain the house. Everything's just one package. It's simple.
It is. And vendors, you know so many vendors. You make life easier for me, the landlord, because you have those connections already.
We do, but we actually really screen our vendors really well. You know, so every vendor that works with us, licensed and insured, and we turn vendors down left, right, and center. But you know, we're always looking for good vendors too.
And wouldn't you say? Some people say, "I'm going to rent it myself because I don't want to pay Greg. I don't want to pay a property manager." But wouldn't you say you actually save the landlord money over time because of your relationship with these vendors?
Absolutely, we save money. Not only do we save money with the vendors, we save time, which you can never get back.
And 2 a.m. phone calls, I'm not getting those.
No, you won't. I get those.
Literally, as the property owner, I just buy the property and turn everything over to you and collect checks. I don't have to do anything.
Yeah, it's like winning the lottery every single day.
If you own thank you, Greg, as always. We always appreciate your insight. If you own real estate that you're renting out and you're handling it yourself, it's not a good idea. You can get yourself into trouble and it's going to cost you money. Call Greg Mann today. More Behind the Law is just ahead.
Managing your investment property is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Sign up at GoRent123.com. 2. Let Greater Orlando Realty handle all of the management of your property. 3. Sit back and count your money. Visit GoRent123.com today.
Temporary set, but I think that might have been my favorite show yet. I learned so much today. I was full of questions. I could have gone on for hours, but we wrap it up as always with what did we learn? Michaela, what did you learn today?
What did you learn, Justin? I mean, you seem really thrilled.
Well, I thought it was a great show.
It was.
I learned that I'm still not going to wear bicycle shorts, but also that if you're a bicyclist or a pedestrian, you need to have coverage on your own car, and that will protect you if you get hit by a car with no insurance. I think that's fantastic to know.
Yeah, I learned basically to just, not try to commit a crime or do drugs.
Well, I mean, that's always good.
Yeah.
And always Rajan was fantastic with if you get pulled over and they ask you to step out of the car, you should step out. But if they bang on your door without a warrant, you don't have to let them in. Excellent job, as always, Michaela. Thank you very much to our crew here for setting us up here at Temporary Studio. Thank you for joining me. Love you. See you next week for more Behind the Law. Having debt can leave you feeling helpless. I'm attorney Justin Clark. Filing for bankruptcy may give you the power to lower or even eliminate the payments that have you living paycheck to paycheck. Call me now for a free consultation or visit youhavepower.com and take back control of your life.
The proceeding was a paid advertisement. The views expressed were the sole responsibility of the advertiser.